Welcome back. The Diet is currently out of session as we're going through the race for a Tokyo governor. That election will take place on the 31st of July, and then politics heats up once again. Michael, what's in store for us?
Well, we have an extra session, a short few days session, which is always traditional after there has been a major national election, in order for there to be a reestablishment of the cabinet.
And we're waiting for the election of governor to finish, and then we're going to launch into that.
Well, you have to think that the prime minister, who's off golfing in the mountains of Yamanashi right now as we speak, unless it's raining, he's really thinking very seriously about what he's going to do regarding the cabinet. And there's a lot of discussion going on right now.
Mm-hmm. Today is the 21st. It looks like they're going to announce the cabinet reshuffle on August 3rd, not very far away.
It's going to be a short period of time. But then again, they've had all these years to think about who's going to be the next generation of the cabinet. And there have all kinds of moves that are going on between the factions as to who's going to get represented. Last time, the Kishida faction got shut out in terms of cabinet posts, with only Foreign Minister Kishida staying on. They're going to need to be served. There are all kinds of various machinations that are going on. What's going to happen, especially regarding the really crucial posts of finance minister and chief cabinet secretary, and then even there's probably going to have to be huge changes in the party secretariat.
He was involved in a bicycle accident just a couple of days ago.
That's right. The Secretary General, Tanigaki Sadakazu.
Pretty serious.
It seems to have been very serious. He had back surgery yesterday. They say it's successful, but it's back surgery. One never knows about these kind of things. He's an avid bicyclist. He's, in fact, I believe, the chairman of the National Cycling Association. And he's had an accident before, and it caused political distress then. But this time, he's the Secretary General of the LDP, and he's out. I mean, he is completely out. So he is going to have to be replaced, or at least everybody thinks so, that there's not going to be any sufficient recovery for him to take on his duties anytime soon. And the party cannot be leaderless. The leader officially of the party is the president. But his real job is being prime minister. Running the party is in the hands of the Secretary General, and that seat's empty.
Right. And the LDP has to go through, I mean, if there's going to be a cabinet reshuffle, there's across the board, a lot of seats are opened up and need to be changed. And internally to the LDP, that means there's a lot of human resources reshuffling, isn't there?
Well, every time you slide somebody in and out of the cabinet, and that person is either inside a faction or not inside a faction, that has a domino effect all through the party organization, so that chairmanships of various divisions, whether it's the health division, whether it's the finance division, all these things, they can get knocked around, and people get knocked in and knocked out of those various committee chairmanships. All these things come into play, so that it's very much a clockwork kind of mechanism at the top. And it's worked really well for Abe Shinzo. He has had an incredibly stable administration as compared to LDPs in the past. This is not the LDP you and I experienced, particularly myself. I'm from the 90s, but you're from actually before then. The competition in the LDP used to be ferocious.
Right.
But here he's got basically a very balanced system where everyone has been working together very well.
Well, with Tanigaki out, that's really going to throw a wrench in the works.
It's going to be a very big wrench in the works, because Tanigaki provides the image, or has provided the image, of the moderate side of the LDP being in charge of the party apparatus. And the Secretary General is not only in charge of elections officially, the Secretary General is also in charge of appointing people. Sure, the president has a say, and certainly the chief cabinet secretary, but they're outside of the party structure necessarily, because they're involved in the government. The Secretary General is the focus of picking people to put into various spots. That's why when Ishiba Shigeru stepped out of that position, he suddenly evaporated as a political phenomenon. Now, and Tanigaki, he's very yes, he was the president of the party for a while, but he was never seen as a threat to Abe during his time period. If his time period is over, which I think it is, who are they going to put in there? Nikai Toshihiro, maybe. Somebody who does not threaten or does not seem to threaten the position of the party president. And that person has to be, at the same time, unthreatening and yet competent.
The other dynamic you have going on here is that there are more than 100 people who qualify for cabinet portfolios. And even if the prime minister cleared out the entire slate of cabinet ministers,
he can only take care of a fifth of those people.
That's right.
That's right. It's the backlog that everyone's been talking about that occurred because there was this interregnum of the Democratic Party of Japan, the DPJ, being in power from 2009 to 2012, which meant that no LDP members could be served during that time. It's only gotten worse because Abe stuck with the same people from the beginning of his term in 2012.
And people want their just desserts. I have been reelected 5 times. It's my turn now.
Or 6 times, or 7 times, or 8 times, or 10 times. There are folks who have been waiting a long time, and the LDP, well, okay, it's gotten past that period of time when it was no longer dominant. Okay, it's been fighting back. Let's be real about this. It lost everything in 2009. It was defeated. It did not have control of the House of Councilors. It was wiped out in the House of Reps. People hated the party. They were elated that they had elected the DPJ, and they've been fighting their way back. This House of Councilors election is part of a long-time process of clawing back to the top. They are now on the summit. They trounced the DP in the House of Councilors election. They have 2/3 majorities in the House of Reps. They have close to a 2/3 majority in the House of Councilors. If you toss in a few other folks, they do have enough people there for a 2/3 majority for changing the Constitution. They are cock of the rock, king of the mountain. Time to share. Time to start passing stuff around. We're no longer fighting. It's time for us to start enjoying ourselves.
Okay, we've got a special session that starts probably August 1st or 2nd, so that there can be a cabinet reshuffle on the 3rd.
So that can be ratified and the cabinet can show its face to the Diet. And then boom.
A brief session, we've got Obon at the end of the month, and then we move into the plenary session of 90 days.
Well, the extraordinary session that comes is going to be extraordinary in terms of its length. We didn't have a single day of extraordinary session last year, and there was that huge brouhaha about that. And this year they're thinking of having one of the longest extraordinary sessions, at least 90 days, starting on around September the 12th and going all the way to December the 12th, of a significant chunk of time. It's indicative, I'm afraid, of the fact that in the regular session in the first half of this year, the last 3 months of that regular session were just people sitting on their hands or just taking the day off. There was so little legislation passed during the last month of the regular session.
So what are they going to talk about in the new session? They're going to talk about TPP again?
TPP is going to be the big story.
Constitutional revision? You betcha.
I don't think so. Today on the front page of the Tokyo Shimbun, Yamaguchi Natsuo, the head of the Komeito party, says, if there's any kind of attempt either in the extraordinary session or in the regular session next year, it's not going to go anywhere. Not anywhere within the next year.
Abdication.
Abdication probably will have to be dealt with because it's too late. The genie's out of the bottle. The story appeared on NHK, and once it appears on NHK, it has to be dealt with. And this president and the emperor wants it done quickly because he's getting quite old.
How about the potential for the prime minister calling an election?
I don't think there's any hope for that. We saw weakness. We talked about this last time. We're seeing that this 4-party alliance system is actually sort of working. It really helped win some really otherwise marginal seats where we finally didn't have a communist sucking off the progressive votes. That had an effect in at least 5 single-member districts that were otherwise lost.
Also, the exhaustion factor, I think, plays a role.
Yeah, there's an exhaustion factor, but also the prime minister and his folks must be looking at the polls, and they're saying, yes, okay, we have 40% support rates, but that's what we had in the House of Councilors prior to it, and we didn't receive 40% of the votes in the House of Councilors race.
But one of the positive aspects of that is, with the new election, you can reshuffle the cabinet once again.
Yeah, but that's true. You get this wonderful ability to reshuffle, but Abe has prided himself on achieving some level of stability. And let's face it, with Abenomics currently up in the air as to what it has achieved, this man, he has as his main achievement his longevity
Stability,
and the stability that has been characteristic of his regime. That is precious to him. I mean, yes, constitutional revision, yes, Abenomics, but let's face it, it's how long you're sitting in that seat, which is the real standard by which a leader of the LDP is judged.
Studying the political calendar tells us a lot about what portends in the future. Please stay tuned.